User-friendly website is about engagement. In this case, I'm using a foundation to explain users must be compelled. Online users have a 4-second attention span before abandoning a web page, particularly in retail, but in general. And what I want to do is stop here for a minute and just show you a video of the site, because this site is very different than the one I just showed you. It's going to be very different than the one I show you in a moment. This site was used more as a tool. We were approached by the Lumina Foundation, who's here in town. They needed to advance a message. They're not going after college students, they're not trying to sell product. They needed to advance a message. And they had a tome of information, just a massive amount of a library full of information on Latino involvement in universities in the United States and what the realities are and so forth. Lots of data and so forth. And they asked us to put it online and make it searchable. And we began to talk with them and realized there was more to it. What are you trying to convey here? Well, we're trying to get policymakers to be aware of us. We're trying to reach junior high, high school, and college level folks. We need PhDs to be able to do their thesis and research off of this. And we thought, okay, well, throwing it up on the web and making it searchable is not necessarily going to get the job done. So let me play a video here.
Camino a la Universidad para los Latinos. The Road to College for Latinos.
Forgive me if that looks like an advertisement for Brainstorm. it is in some respects, I suppose, but really you'll see in a moment that it's not really about us. That just served to show you the rich flavor of this site. Again, this was a very immersive, emotive sort of site. It was narrated by a Spanish-speaking man. In this case, we had many users we were trying to talk to. The navigation, you'll see there's no search box on here. That's not the point here yet in this site. It's getting them engaged. Think of the front end that you saw there when the video was playing as an outreach to grade school and high school children. I'm just going to oversimplify here. We've got some interesting, what I call discovery-based navigation, which typically I would be totally against using because it sounds fun, but it's kind of old school. It's something I wouldn't do a whole lot of. But there's a little bit of traditional navigation in the middle down at the bottom. Overall, though, this wanted to feel like an ad council sort of an advertisement. It's awareness. Let's get the people involved here. Later on, at the high school, maybe collegiate level, the information got a lot deeper. You still have the animation running through it, but it was geared to a higher intellectual audience at that point. And finally, in the back, I call this a tag cloud or a search cloud. You may have noticed it was animated. This is where the real PhD tome, somebody wants to dig in, and everything's there, everything. It was just a massive amount of information. There are many ways to search it. There's permalinking, filtered by topic, video tutorials, intuitive search, relevant content. It's very feature-rich for somebody that's doing doctorate level work. So in this one site, it really functions more like a tool. The purpose was meet the users where they are. Are they young people? Are they, and frankly, the front end also helps engage the PhD. I'm not saying it's useless. It's just they may need to get in here and get at it. And also for policymakers, they're able to go for funding. They can advance an idea. Then if you get right down to it, it's a presentation tool for all these groups. The teacher can present to the students. the PhD can present to their professor, policymakers, and you get where we're headed there. So it upped the level of just taking something and putting it on the internet, and instead considering the user and the importance to them, and what was the value to the users. Again, who cares? Well, for Lumina, they're not trying to sell TV sets, they're not trying to put people in their university, but what they do need to do is advance their messaging. And in this case, it won numerous awards, which is great for Brainstorm, but it's really good for them, because PR is a huge part of what they need to do. Any foundation needs to get their message out. So this got a lot of exposure for them, helped them in Washington, helped them in all sorts of realms. And created an emotional response. There was a huge response. It even was cited on O'Reilly.com, and there was a whole article put together about how we had built this thing, because it had a lot of RSS feeds and Flash and things you wouldn't typically mash together, which again was just propagating Lumina more and more and more across targeted educational, cultural, and political demographics and audiences. And finally, I'm going to talk about a commercial site. User-friendly is about relevant content. And for this section, I'm going to use this statistic. Edutainment, or user-generated content, two different things, but the relevance of that, and this may be familiar to a lot of you, but I still always marvel at this. 172 million US users, which we talked about, what was it, 240 in the beginning? It's a large percentage of them in December watched 14.6 hours of video in December and had 5.2 billion viewing sessions overall. So this is an important metric when you're considering who you're talking to in certain user segments, and video is huge. So when we put together the RCA website, their objective is support their constituents like Walmart, Target, and move television sets at some point. They're a French-owned company and Chinese-owned company at that time. And so we had a panel in the middle of the site that we designed in. Again, there's all the conventional navigation at the top, the core brand. You got a tagline to position them, again, speaking to the users. And then throughout the year, each month we do a different promotion around something relevant to people that would come here to talk about or look at something entertaining that they want to purchase, like a television set. In this case, we developed a campaign around Hoops Beyond Reality, which is aligned with March Madness. And again, it was a long-term play, strategies involved. You can't just throw this up the day before. You've got to get in there and build the momentum. This was actually a game. You could throw bowling balls, paper wads, and basketballs up into that hoop in 35 seconds, and it would advance you to another screen, which was a video contest. Many social networks were tied into this, including primarily YouTube. And the point here was, what's user-friendly on an RCA site? Well, video, pictures, and here they could win prizes, televisions, and trips and so forth if they submitted a video of their favorite shot that they'd taken. And yet, all the while, in the back end, we have a very standard, efficient site. So if someone's engaged by the game or the user-generated content contests and so forth that we ran, they find everything organized. We're supporting our constituents, Walmart, Sam's Club down there. There's lots of layered choice for the users to select how they want to view the product. There's variables over on the left-hand side so they can quickly get to where they want. Think of Amazon, how they take people to where they need to be. There's a redundant search box in this case, because even to a point where people look at search and they think, I don't want to put something in here because I don't know where's it going to take me. I have no idea, it's too general. So we created another search down near the product that says inside of it, it literally tells you what to do. Enter your product number, because we knew people were looking for certain products. Organized specifics, there's an embedded tabbed area there that helps them search soup to nuts, everything they'd ever want to know, and we even cross-promote within the website. So this is kind of the denotative or fundamental side to the connotative or emotional side that the promos on the front part of the site utilize. And yet all the while, all this is very search engine optimized, and I'm sure you've heard of that at this point, but if you haven't, you should, because that's another part of user-friendly. So again, who cares? What's the importance here, going back to our first word in our phrase tonight? Importance in this case is, after incorporating all this, our metrics showed, analytics and so forth, that they were #1 across in-category metrics for their entire segment of the industry. That's exactly where they want to be. They can take this information to Walmart and Target and say, we need to be on your shelves, look at how we're supporting you. And that one particular campaign, among all the campaigns that we ran during the years, that particular one had 31 million campaign brand impressions. So now you're not only working the one side of the metrics with the #1 category across the industry, that's great, but we are also reaching the consumer, making them aware of the product, and sharing this information with Walmart and Target, and now RCA's brand, under TC or Thompson at that time, is suddenly elevated to where they need to be to sell more product and have more leverage, which is exactly what they needed. So value and importance is different to each one of these institutions, whether it's a commercial, higher education, or a foundation. They all have different objectives, but in each case, what we did is we analyzed who are the users that are coming here and met them halfway and engaged them. User-generated content, a community cited Anderson, a tool for PhDs.